The night Michael died, I stopped being a wife. I stopped being a woman. I became something else. Something broken, shattered in places I didn't know existed. We had been married for 10 years. Michael was the kind of man who kissed my forehead every morning and made pancakes for Emma every Saturday. Our daughter, just 6 back then, used to say he smelled like sunshine. I believed her. And then, in a flash of metal and shattered glass, he was gone. A car crash on a rainy Tuesday. No drunk driver, no criminal. Just an accident. The police called it unfortunate. I called it everything. The funeral passed like a blur of apologies and casseroles. Everyone had advice. Go to therapy, keep busy, lean on friends. But no one understood what it was like to hear your child cry for her daddy at night and not have an answer. I didn't want answers. I wanted him back. At first, I tried to be strong for Emma. I did. I smiled through school drop-offs and read her bedtime stories with a lump in my throat. I showed up at PTA meetings, but inside, I was fading. It started with painkillers. Just a few pills left over from a dental surgery. Just enough to take the edge off when I couldn't sleep. Enough to silence the scream in my chest. Before long, I was taking them before breakfast. Then I was hiding them in old vitamin bottles so Emma wouldn't see. When the pills ran out, I found stronger stuff. I met a woman at the grief group who said heroin gave her peace. Peace sounded like heaven. I wanted it. More than I wanted food. More than I wanted God. The first time I used, I felt warmth for the first time since Michael died. I floated. My pain evaporated. I cried, not because I was sad, but because I wasn't sad. It felt like cheating on grief. But I went back for more. I could hide it. Addicts always think that. I'd use it when Emma was asleep. I'd light candles to cover the smell, chew gum so my breath wouldn't betray me. I told myself I was still a good mother because I packed her lunch and helped with homework. I was functional. But slowly, pieces of me started slipping. Emma would find me passed out on the couch more often. I missed her parent-teacher conference. I forgot her recital. Once, I even left the stove on. One night, Emma tapped me gently while I was nodding off in the bathtub. Her voice barely above a whisper. "Mommy, are you okay?" I remember staring into her terrified eyes and swearing that I'd stop, that I'd be better, that she was enough reason to live. So I quit. Cold turkey. 7 days of shaking, sweating, vomiting, and crying. I locked myself in the bedroom and gave Emma an iPad and a stack of frozen meals. I told her Mommy was sick. On the 8th day, I emerged, hollow but clean. I got a job as a cashier at a grocery store, minimum wage, long hours. But it gave me purpose. I'd save every receipt, budget every dollar. Emma started smiling again. We colored together. She'd crawl into bed and say, "You smell like pancakes again." For 6 months, I stayed clean. I didn't even drink coffee. I was that determined. I wrote in journals. I said affirmations in the mirror. I joined a support group and cried with strangers who knew the taste of rock bottom. Then came the layoff. The store closed. No warning, just a piece of paper and a week's pay. I begged, pleaded. I called every number on the job board, but no one was hiring a widow with no degree and a shaky resume. Bills piled. Rent reminders turned into eviction notices. One night, after putting Emma to bed with a can of soup and fake cheer, I sat on the kitchen floor and stared at an old envelope. Inside, 2 hits, forgotten in the back of a drawer from my worst days. I told myself I was strong. I told myself I'd flush it. Instead, I held it like a prayer. That night, I used. I cried while it entered my veins. I begged Michael for forgiveness as the warmth spread. I told myself it was temporary, just this one time. But there's no such thing as just once for someone like me. 2 weeks later, the school called. Emma had shown up with wrinkled clothes and tear-streaked cheeks. A counselor asked if everything was okay at home. I lied. I said we were fine. The truth? We had no food. The electricity had been shut off. I was back to chasing a high while my daughter watched cartoons in the dark. The worst part? She never complained. One night, she came to me with her piggy bank, filled with coins she'd collected over the years. "Mommy, you can have this. Maybe it'll help us." I broke. Right there. In front of her. That night, I called my sister, the same one I hadn't spoken to in 2 years after she said I was a danger to Emma. I begged. I pleaded. I offered my pride in exchange for help. She drove down the next morning and took Emma. "I'll keep her until you get better," she said. The look in Emma's eyes as she left, confused, heartbroken, holding her stuffed bunny, is seared into my memory like a scar. I kissed her and said, "This isn't goodbye. This is just for now." The silence after they drove away was unbearable. The house wasn't just empty. It was dead. I sat on the floor and stared at the wall. Every instinct screamed to use, to disappear. But then I saw a drawing Emma had left on the fridge. Stick figures. One tall, one short. Holding hands under a sun with a giant smile. And I realized something. Michael died, but I didn't. I chose to disappear. But maybe I could choose again. So I did. I walked into rehab the next day. Not because I wanted to, but because I had no more lies left to tell. I told the truth. Every ugly, heartbreaking truth. And then I listened. I listened to other mothers, other fathers, broken souls piecing themselves back together. It's been 9 months now. I still cry. I still shake. But I'm clean. I see Emma every weekend. She runs into my arms like nothing ever happened. She tells me she's proud of me. She writes letters to Michael and says, "Mommy is brave." Some days I believe her. Some days I don't. But every day I try. Because love is not just pancakes and bedtime stories. Sometimes love is crawling back from hell with bleeding knees just to stand at your daughter's side again. And I will. Even if I fall 100 more times. I will.